we are here because it is coming up. The East-West Harbor KBF event is coming up Saturday and Sunday, July 24th and 25th. We're here with Chad Hoover and Ryan Havlicek. We're going to go over everything that you guys need to know. And if you have questions, you know what, Chad, Ryan, let's just get this out of the way to begin with. What if we don't go over something specific and someone has a question? What should they do?
The number one thing they shouldn't do is go post it on Facebook and tag everybody in it, because Facebook is not customer service. That's not actually how we answer official questions. I have people post all the time and they say, I've asked this question 3 times and still haven't gotten an answer. And I'm like, where have you asked it? Oh, I posted it on Facebook and tagged you. Then you've never asked it, right? So the official way to ask a question is in the app itself. In Fishing Chaos, there is a button for Tournament Director and there's a button for Technical Assistance. And if you're having technical issues with the app for any reason, you click the Technical Assistance button. If you have a tournament question or you need to contact the Tournament Director, you click on the Tournament Director button. That goes directly to the Tournament Director or directly to the person that is covering the customer service part of the app for that weekend, for that event. The other ways that you can ask questions is obviously to post it in the KBF members only group. There's a lot of group think there and a lot of people that can help answer the question. The point I was trying to make is that's not the place for the official answer. The official answer is actually what's in the app. You know, for years we created our own confusion by answering questions and say, well, I know what the rules say, but let me clarify it here. Now we just clarify it there instead of trying to clarify it in multiple places and then leaving room for interpretation. The biggest thing that's still up for debate in this event is whether or not Erie is going to be in play. So I don't want to make this 20 minutes deep or 10 minutes deep into the video, because you know how the 3 of us are when we get going. So I want to say this up front. Erie is inbounds out to 1 mile unless we say it's not. And the way that we'll say it's not is we'll change the rules and we'll push out an update. We'll send a mass text and a mass email to everybody that's registered for the event. We will also post that everywhere, and we will also add it to the identifier page, you know, something that says Lake Erie has been placed off limits. It will be next to impossible to not know. And if we're going to do something like that, we're going to do the best we can to do that as far in advance as we possibly can. The weather looks good. It doesn't look like it's going to be a concern. Crossing my fingers and knocking on wood that we're just going to have the ability for guys to fish a lot of water, because again, this is kind of a preview of the bigger event that we're doing next year, where Lake Erie, East-West Harbor, Toledo, on up into St. Clair is going to be in play for a super trail. And so the way we're doing super trails next year is we're going to select 4 or 5 trails out of the entire series and make them super trails. And there'll be more details coming on that. All you got to worry about is this will be one of the locations for it. Don't go to DEFCON 3 blowing up social media asking what a super trail is yet. Basically, it's going to be a multi-day event that's on top of the existing trail series with a little bit of a bigger carrot on that stick. So I'm looking forward to getting up there. I got to fly this time because I'm down at ICAST 2021. I'll be honest with you guys. I kind of got burnt out on ICAST after going for like 11 years and having to work and build booths and load booths and stand in booths and all that. But after having a break last year with the virtual, I'm actually pretty excited. There's some cool stuff dropping this year. And I think paddle sports is going to take best of again. At least I hope we do. And I'm also excited about some of the cool rods and reels or rod lines and reels that are coming out. There's a couple of new lures that I'm stoked to go check out. And so, yeah, I will be flying in. Mr. Havlicek will be hosting me in Casa de Havlicek over there. And I'll do the best I can to try to catch a fish. But the biggest thing is to come there, to be there to support the event, hand out the checks, hand out the trophies, and just break bread with one of the coolest clubs in the country, you know?
I appreciate it, Chad. Hey, you know what? You can only stay if you share some juice you bring back from ICAST. I mean, there's going to be a good bunch of people at the campfire Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, so you got to share something.
Well, I only brought one bag so that I could buy another bag and fill it up with crap to take back with me. So that might work out.
Love it. And you know what? There's a lot of people that tuned into this video, not just hear about ICAST. We love it. The Super Trail, we love it. But we want to get all of the details, say like the virtual captains meeting. And I love that you gave everyone at the beginning of the video how to address your questions. But if you go on Fishing Chaos, I have it open right now, it's 20 pages of rules. All the information is there. So if you have paid for the event, you signed up, you got a campsite, you're driving up there, you've got your stuff loaded, take some time to read the rules. Even though we're going to go over the most commonly asked questions, the things you need to know, there are tons of information in there. Who wants to jump out and just start going through some of these need to know?
So probably one of the biggest need to knows that we still, even this far into the season, we went catch exclusive for the trail this year. We still occasionally have people that go, oh man, I didn't know the catch was the only board. And normally I'm at the show with my truck with about 20 extra catch boards and it hasn't been a problem. I won't have the ability to do that this time. Normally I've got 8 or 10 tourney tags in my truck, and normally I've got a bunch of extra identifiers. So this time I don't have the ability to take up for the people who don't come prepared. So make sure you got identifiers printed out. Make sure you bring your catch board, and make sure that you read the rules. Now, even though the rules are extensive and they kind of have to be to cover all the bases, don't forget that the rules have a table of contents and they're searchable. So if you go to the table of contents, you can actually click on it and it's hypertext link and it takes you to the to that section. Last year, we did an extensive overhaul of the rules to put it in plain language. Joe did a lot of great things for the organization, but some of the vernacular that he used when he wrote the original set of rules was written in kind of like, 1975 school teacher vernacular. So we kind of freshened it up and put it in plain language. If you want to know about acceptable measuring devices, it says measuring device, so it's pretty straightforward. The table of contents are pretty extensive. And a couple of places we actually added in another link to the same place in the table of contents. If there's 2 different ways you might think of it, we put both of them in there. The photo standards are a table. I would highly suggest that everybody goes to the photo standards section of the rules and just screenshot it and have it on your phone. That way it's a quick reference. You don't have to have an internet signal. You don't have to go scrolling through looking for it. And then I want to say one thing about the app and the event page. Everything you need to know is in there. If you want to find the identifier, there's a link in there to the identifier. If you want to find the rules, there's an expandable link and there's a downloadable link. If you need to know where the headquarters is, if you need to know, everything you need to know is in that one event page. I don't know if Samsung has this, but I do know that iPhone has it. Do a screen record so that if you don't have the internet, you can scroll back through it. Just do a screen record and scroll through it real slow. And you can pop that little video up and scroll through and stop it at each section if you need to. Those are just little tips, that I have to make it easier. One thing that I can tell you is if you'll hold your board back up, if you don't have a tourney tag and you don't do what you're doing right there, and if you don't have a catch ID holder, you need one. That makes life so much easier. It makes life so much better. It makes it to where you've got everything where you need it. You're not fumbling around trying to find your measuring board and your identifier. It's all containerized. And I didn't think there was a better mousetrap to be made in actually how you measure and photo a fish, but that's definitely one of them recently. If you just have a basic tourney tag, a big trick is to put it on your arm. That way you don't lose it. And then when you get ready to take the fish, just slide it down over your hand or just take the picture where you can see it. And again, the basic stuff, we're not just going to spoon feed, the fish facing left, dorsal fin up, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff is you're just got to read the rules. If you have questions and you need clarification on something, I prefer that you ask, what is the clarification on rule 7 instead of, hey, what's the rule on insert anything here? You know what I mean? It tells me when people ask a vague question that they didn't even read the rules. But if you ask a question, hey, under rule 9A, where it says this, Can you clarify that for me? That's a better way to ask a question, you know? So are there any specific things you guys want to cover? I've kind of been doing this all season. You know, this is about my 20th time now, or as it feels like. And it's kind of gotten, I may take a lot of things for granted. So we could actually use the opportunity of having 3 guys here to kind of, you know, if there are questions that you want to ask, let's get them out there for the folks that you may have already heard asking questions.
Yeah, I know for me anyway, I was thinking, and Ryan, you may already have the answer to this, but using the Fishing Chaos app to actually check in at the beginning and then check out at the end, because there is big water on Lake Erie, and you know it's a safety thing. Some people think we're trying to make sure they're not still fishing. Well, we have the timestamp from their fish. Everyone is safe.
Yeah. Not only that, that's actually a feature that I fought for. That's a feature that I have been aggressively fighting for. You know, even with Tourney X, the check-in, check-out, we clarified it a little bit to say on the water, off the water, because some people got confused with. So let me get this straight. I'm checking in, but I'm checking off the water. So we just changed it to on the water, off the water. And that is your check-in. There is no mandatory physical check-in. If you don't want to come to the mandatory check-in, if you don't want to come to the check-in, it's not mandatory. If you check in on the app, you are checked in. You will get your Angler of the Year points. You will get your check. You'll even get your trophy if you don't want to come there and get the acknowledgement in front of all your friends and fans and your new fans and followers. But with COVID and with all the restrictions, and certain people have certain things going on, I can't in good faith say, no, you have to come to a physical check-in. It's just not a reality in the world that we're in right now. We developed that functionality, you know, leading into COVID so that we could run really virtual tournaments. I highly encourage people to come to the weigh-in, to the meet and greets, to all that part of it, because that's what makes kayak fishing, the kayak fishing community, what it is. But it's not mandatory. So as long as you check in by checking off the water, you're good. As a former search and rescue guy, and as a guy that has gone through this, you know, a few times in this industry, in this community, the other thing that it does is, if for whatever reason you don't come off the water, it lets us know where to start looking. You know what I'm saying? As much as we don't want to think about things like that, you know, it has happened. And so that's another big reason for it. It's
great safety net.
It's really easy, a lot easier to start a search for someone when you have a starting point. When your starting point is Lake Erie, you know, and when every few minutes can be the difference between, you know, a successful rescue and an unsuccessful rescue that turns into a recovery, anything that we can do to put the odds in our favor, we're going to. We're working currently on live track, where we can actually see where every angler is at every moment. That's going to do us a lot for live coverage and live streaming and things that we're going to do in the future. But it's also going to go a long ways towards safety, big time. So, yeah, thanks. That's a great question. I appreciate that.
There's 64,000 fishable acres, which equates to 100 square miles. There's a lot of water. So, you know, some people might
big water too.
Yeah.
A lot of big water.
I think it's imperative that we have that as a tool, and it's just a great asset for us to have for an event. So I appreciate it, Chad.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, Ryan,
what else y'all got?
Yeah, I think Ryan had a question at the same time I asked.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a question so much as it is. I still have a whole pack of identifiers left over from last year, which the 2020 identifiers are good for this year. Everything's the same on them. So if you guys need them, I'm in East Harbor State Park. B23 is my campsite. I'll have a little table set out front in front of my camper. You can't miss it. It says Striker on the front of it, and I'll have them in a Ziploc bag. If you guys need them, just swing by, grab 2 or 3, whatever you need. You're all set. So.
And look,
don't freak out if you identifier.
We'll have the banner. We'll hang the banner on the.
Exactly. We'll have the banner up right behind him.
All right. Now, the other question. Since we've expanded, we kind of had it dialed in the last few years with East West Harbor, but we've had some questions online about where you can launch. But basically, if it's public access, even if you pay, you can launch there. You got
public access, correct.
Public access with no restrictions. You know, if you got to be staying at that campground to launch there, then that's off limits. If you've got to be a member of a homeowners association or a POA, that's off limits. As long as anybody that drove into town tomorrow or the next day or Friday could reasonably go to that same location and have access to the water there, then it's legal. As long as it's, it can be privately owned. It's public access is the definition. As long as the public has access, even like you said, even if there's a fee.
There are a lot of places to launch. At first blush, it doesn't seem like it, but I counted at least 15 or 16 different places you could launch in the body of water that we've encapsulated in this event.
But guys, I want to tell you that one thing that you really need to do is go download the Far Wide app. Far Wide is our Angler of the Year sponsor this year, and they're helping us do some great things with some other functionality that they're building in the app world. And I've got an announcement coming pretty soon on that I'm excited about. I'll probably have a campfire discussion about it while we're up there, because I'm going to definitely need you guys to help me get this thing off the ground. But download the Far Wide app. The Far Wide app has little layers in it and little swipers, and you could swipe boat ramps and launch sites. It finds boat ramps on a regular basis that I've overlooked with Google Maps search and map study and, Google Earth and all of it. And I'm like, what? And then sure enough, go there and do some research. And there's a little ramp there. There's a little access there. And it blows my mind how they find some of them and where they got the data from. But go download the Far Wide app, because it's got a lot of intel in there for launch sites and other stuff like that. But launch sites is a big one.
Lines in at 6, you can launch at 5:30, lines out, and then you have 60 minutes to upload your fish. Pretty simple. I love those rules.
So one thing I want to talk to you guys about, because it's actually happened twice this year, and it's the craziest thing. If you upload your photo after the deadline, it doesn't matter when you caught it, it's the time of the upload. So we actually had 2 instances this year where the fish was uploaded at the cutoff time plus some seconds, and it doesn't count. One time I actually allowed it in Texas because I felt like, well, if it's 2 o'clock, it's still 2 o'clock until it's 2:01. But I was shown the light by Amanda and the Judge Core, and we redefined that and further defined that. So I reiterate that during all the events. 2 minutes and 0.1 seconds after 2 minutes is after 2 minutes. So you got to get it in 1:59:59 if it's a 2 o'clock shut off, and so on and so forth. So the photo upload time has to be before the cutoff. Otherwise, the fish will be denied. So factor that into your plan and your upload time and your access to Wi-Fi and your game plan and all that good stuff.
Don't wait until the last second. It's not worth it. Cell phone service is really, really good around the region. I wouldn't see it as an issue personally. I've been out on a number of the areas, but there's some areas on the western side, Portage River, Marsh area, where you're a couple of miles from a tower. So just to be safe, get your pictures uploaded as quick as you can.
All right. And then we did talk about Weighin a little bit, although it's not mandatory. Everyone has their own, take care of yourself, be safe and all that. But if you do want to come to the Weighin, it will be located where?
Fisherman Central, Port Clinton, Ohio. I wish I had the address in front of me, but I do not. You can't miss the place.
It's on the app.
It's on the app.
Yeah. Great
and
place.
You could just click to navigate right in the app too. That's the other great thing about it. So keep in mind, even though it's not mandatory, I do have a tendency to just pull stuff out of my butt and give things away at these events. If
you do.
Anybody has already been to some events, that. We're handing out the checks there. We're handing out the trophies. We're going to give away, at a minimum, I give away a trail entry at every trail stop. So at least we know that's happening. But this time, because of the special consistency that we've had with this event, and because we're coming back here next year for an even better event, I'm probably going to ramp it up a little bit. So, and a lot of that depends on how many people show up. If 3 people show up, I mean, come on. But if
you got any audibles you want to deliver before this?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I'll audible depending on the number of people that are there. Yeah. And and I've actually got a couple of announcements that I'm going to make there on site before I make them public. So it'll be fun.
I'll tell you what, Chad. I'll throw in, let's say, $100 gift certificate if you double it for Fisherman Central to the 100th entry that we get.
How do you know? How do we track that? You know what I mean?
She should be able to.
How about this? How about we just do a random drawing for that for everybody that entered at least a fish, but you have to be at the award ceremony to claim it.
So $200.
Yeah.
All right.
Right there on the spot. Done. Easy day.
I like it. And those who haven't visited Fisherman Central, I just got to say this, they've been a big help for us for our club trail as well over the years. But they opened this facility earlier this year, despite COVID, despite everything else. And, Lake Erie's known as a walleye capital of the world. But when you walk in this place, it's hard not for your jaw to hit the floor. I mean, if there's something you forgot, they got it. Trust me. Just trust me. They got it. Aside from a catch board, which we could probably fix. I have a spare, just saying. Thanks, Chad. But other than that, they have everything you could possibly imagine to fish for black bass at this location.
Tell them to call Duke. They could probably have catch boards by the weekend.
He's going to love that message. You hear that, Duke? Hope you listen.
What else you got? You guys got anything else?
We had a couple questions regarding the map or regarding the boundaries, but we addressed those with the individuals that asked the questions. But I will take Chad's advice and point you guys to their website, to the Fishing Chaos web. It gives you a link to the maps. We added 2 extended maps for Sandusky River as well as Portage River because we had some questions about the boundaries and how far they extend. The long and short is that you have a boundary in Fremont, Ohio for Sandusky River, and you have a boundary in Oak Harbor, Ohio for Portage River. That's as far as we go. That's still a massive amount of shoreline, a massive amount of water, but those are the 2 primary boundaries. If you have questions, reach out to Amanda at KBF, or you can reach out to myself as well.
Or again, go right through the Fishing Chaos app, hit the tournament director button, and that question will go directly to her. And it formulates it with the title of the event that it came from too, which is really nice.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get ready for ICAST.
Have fun, man.
Yeah. So if you guys want to know anything about ICAST, I'm about to drop a video on my YouTube channel that basically just says, hey, if you have questions, put them in the comments section. I'm going to use that as kind of my go-to list for things that I may not have looked up on my own. So you guys head over there and comment on that video, and I'll do the best I can to do some, live videos or pictures or get intel as best I can, or snatch a couple up and bring them to Ohio with me.
I'm looking for specifics on Johnson Outdoors, aka Hummingbird, aka Minn Kota. So if you see anything,
post the question in that video and I'll get it answered for you.
Thanks, Chad.
All right.
Well, have fun and
all right.
Have fun, safe travels, and we'll see you at the end of the week.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing you at the end of the week.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.